Joe Biden. And if you wanted to win, if you wanted to damage Joe Biden in such a way that Joe would not be the next nominee, he could have. But Bernie Sanders was pulling every punch he could. Bernie Sanders is not in this because he believes. Last night's debate showed me that Bernie Sanders is a phony. Doesn't believe anything that he's telling you people. Doesn't believe any of it. Everything he does for himself. Right now, he's working backroom deals with the DNC and with Joe Biden to say, you want me to pull out and give you my supporters support? It's going to cost you. That's what Bernie's doing right now. Because Bernie wants to keep that fat chunk of change he's got in campaign funds. He doesn't want to waste it all through an election. He'll find ways to siphon off money out of it. It's what he does. It's what he's been doing. His wife or his sister or whoever always seems to run the ad management team that handles his, and they skim profit. That's the way they all do it. It's part of the problem. But Bernie certainly does not want to spend that money if he doesn't have to. If he can get a big chunk of something, another house, a jet, some backdoor deals, some money under the table, maybe a house and guitar or something else. I don't know. Bernie's trying to ink something better for him and his wife and his family. That's what he's doing. Biden's doing the same thing. Biden siphons off money for his sister and whatnot. Joe's no different. That's what they're doing. It should be illegal, but it's not. But mark my words, within the next 2 weeks, Bernie will fold. As soon as Bernie gets what he wants, Bernie's going to be out. And he's not going to look back, because this is his last hurrah. Mark my words. You think I'm wrong? I'm not. Okay, so let's take one last gander through the Daily Drift. And if you haven't been going to the Daily Drift, please make sure you do. www.thedailydrift.com. And talk about Italy. I guess Italy's getting hit pretty hard with the coronavirus. And let this be a lesson to us. Let's end the show on this one, shall we? If you want to talk about how Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders want to have single payer, and Joe may not admit it, but he's moving there. All you union guys, you will lose those beautiful health care plans that you've worked so hard to get, because Democrats want single payer. That's what they want. That's what they'll get eventually. If you put them in charge again, they will have it next time around. But there's no better example of socialism and Medicare, single payer Medicare, insurance policy, health insurance policies than Italy. Because, it wasn't that long ago they were saying Italy's got the second best healthcare system in the world. Remember? It was out there. But right now, they're hurting so bad because of the coronavirus that the death panels are in effect. They're making the decision between healthy 40, 50-year-olds and that 80-year-old, he's got a time for him to go. Can't do it. Let's give it to that guy. He's younger. He's got more years under his belt or above his belt. This guy's got to go. The death panels are there in Italy because they have single payer. You want good insurance, you got to do it you got to keep the competition out there. You can't socialize medicine. And if you want to put things into place to help the less advantaged, put in a safety net, do those things. But don't ruin the best health care in the world, on the planet here in the United States, by moving toward a single payer. The more competition, the better. It's that simple. Now, do we have problems? Yes, there are. And dollars to donuts. Every problem we have with our health care system in the United States of America is because of bad government policy. Or too much policy, or too much interference. The free market always finds its place. It's not always comfortable, it's not always perfect, but it's far more perfect than what you're seeing in China's healthcare system, or Italy's healthcare system, or anything else that's going on in Europe. I worry more about Europe being affected than the United States by this. The United States will survive this. We may have millions and millions of people get infected. H1N1 in 2009, 59 million people got infected by H1N1, the swine flu. You never heard about it, did you? You probably couldn't quote that number because you wouldn't remember it. It was never talked about. But Google it up. 59 million Americans had H1N1. The United States survived that epidemic. Survived it very well. Didn't learn our lessons from it, obviously. Otherwise, we'd have a CDC that was prepared and ready to go on a moment's notice. You know, the mainstream media, let's hit this in it. The mainstream media wanted to bash Donald Trump, saying, you're not ready, you didn't do it right, you were ill-prepared, blah, blah, blah. Well, there is something I want to bring up, because when Donald Trump says, I'm not responsible, and of course the media jumps on and says, he won't take accountability. One of the reasons we don't have lots of available tests and capabilities of testing in this country is because back under the Obama administration, they took testing away from private facilities and moved it back to the CDC, the Institutes of Health, NIH. Took it away. Too much government. They wanted to be able to track it. Everything's got to come through us because we want to track it. Well, if you're the only one's going to do it, then there's no reason for the rest of us to do it. So the private sector pulls back. And now all of a sudden you've got an epidemic, a pandemic, where you need millions and millions of people tested. We can't do it. Why? Because all these test kits got to come from the CDC. They're in charge now. Well, thank you very much. But in the meantime, lots of people are running around untested, spreading their germs. And that's the kind of nonsense that happens. This is the garbage that happens when you centralize stuff. And I've been saying this for years. Centralization sucks. You know, if you had multiple offices and more power back to the states, let the states handle, we'd have 50 states right now with their own ability to test. More than that, because you'd have hundreds of private companies within those states with the ability to test. You want to put a regulation and say you got to at least have this good of a test? That's fine. That's not so bad. But pulling everything back to the CDC and not allowing private companies and private hospitals and private diagnostic companies to be able to do what they do best? The government never does anything good. They're incapable. Maybe the military. And even the military's got its problems, right? $800 hammers, $300 toilet seats, whatever. But you know what I'm saying? It's across the board. The government can never do as good as the private sector. They cannot. It's just not possible because there's nobody accountable there. It's not their money. They don't care. Let's just throw it around. It's a lot of money. It's we can use it. Here, throw some more money at it because it's not ours. It costs them nothing. All right. Well, that was my rant for today. We'll cut it a little short. Thank you again for tuning in again. Next time we get it out, I'll try and start finding a way to get some phone calls in here and some guests back as well. So www.thedailydrift.com. Make sure you're checking it out. And if you want to email me, you can email me at Gary@thedailydrift.com. Gary@thedailydrift.com. All right. See you next week.